Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. In AI news, sorry Gov'na, the Brits aren't into AI, and I do apologize to every British person out there for that horrible Cockney accent, but I'm an American, what are you going to do? This, for the record, isn't good for the long-term growth of the United Kingdom, and we're going to dive into this and talk about the one upside that I do think it has that the UK may have over, let's say, the United States or China, but we're going to talk about that soon. So with that, let's turn to Richard Speed from the Register, who essentially had a really good write-up on this, because this new report is coming out from the UK's Office of Communications. These are the ones that regulates the country's communications industries. They're known as Ofcom. Now, their annual report, which is called Online Nation, looks at what UK citizens are doing during their hours online and how much they spend essentially attached to their mobile phones and gadgets. So the backdrop here is where we want to start, because Ofcom found that Google's search engine dominance in the UK has actually slipped slightly over the past year, with only 83% of online adults, and I say only because that is a vast majority, visiting in May 2024, but that's compared to the previous year where it was 86%, so they lost 3%. Microsoft's Bing fell further because only like 10 Brits use it, and here we are. They're down 39% from the previous 46% as well. Now, Microsoft and Google, as you know, have heavily invested in artificial intelligence, and generative AI content is now turning up in search results on their services. So if you go to Google or you go to Bing and you type in a question, now you're getting basically a generative AI giving you an answer, and then you're seeing links below that. However, if you're looking at a pure generative AI or LLM, ChatGPT remains the most popular in the UK. Microsoft's Copilot came in second, with 15% of UK internet users aged 16 and over having used it. And despite only recently being introduced, Google's Gemini was actually ranked fourth with a 10% adoption rate. Now, these figures indicate sluggish AI adoption in the UK, and more than half of the adults surveyed had yet to actually use any kind of generative AI, with 38% saying essentially that they were not interested, and another 35% saying they didn't need to. Now, 48% of adults in the UK had used the technology, but only for fun, and 43% had used one for work, and the most popular activity was simply finding content. However, less than 1 in 5, or 18%, according to Ofcom, actually trusted the output of a generative AI. And these numbers are slightly different for the under 16 age because, of course, they are. They're always the early adopters. 54% of those 16 and under basically said they had used a Gen AI tool, with more than half, or 53% of those, saying that they'd used it for schoolwork. Odds are to write that book report for them. Now, 63% also reported using a Gen AI tool for fun. Now, a distribution across age groups shows that AI is obviously making more significant inroads into younger demographics than older, and that makes a lot of sense. If you looked at the adoption rates of, let's say, those 75 and older, they'd be vastly lower than, let's say, 45 and older, and vastly lower than 15 and younger, right? So here we are. But it appears that investors are going to have to wait a little longer in the UK before the AI bets start paying off there, as they are paying dividends elsewhere, like here in the United States, China, and some other places. And I think basically this is a problem for the United Kingdom in general, but it also may have some benefits. And so first, I think the overall bad here is that AI creation, and therefore adoption society-wide, is a race. In other words, who is basically going to dominate society-wide, basically the AI landscape? Let's say it's the United States versus China versus Germany versus Canada versus the UK, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the ones that are going to be that have a greater chance to be the economic powerhouse. It's the same with, for example, the long-lasting battery. If you get me a rechargeable battery that powers my phone for a year, you've completely changed the game on mobile computing, which is where we're all moving to. And by virtue of that, you're going to have economic dominance. This puts the United Kingdom behind. If they are not on the forefront of generating artificial intelligence and having their society as one big testing platform like we are here in the United States, that is going to put them at an economic disadvantage at the long term. But there is a silver lining to this that I think we have to take into account as well, because if the United Kingdom takes longer to adopt artificial intelligence, then the creative destruction that comes with a major change in a societal practice will be a tad easier. So think about it this way. Creative destruction has happened in technological innovation for centuries at this point. And if we're using the United Kingdom as an example, basically London, their capital, used to be lit by gas lamps. And they had lamp lighters that would go around and turn the lamps on and light them, in the evening, turn them off in the morning, et cetera, et cetera. Well, when electricity came to London, that was a huge thing, right? They had basically a revolt of the Lamplighters Guild or Union, whatever it's called over there. And so by virtue of that, that was an issue, right? And all these people are going to lose their jobs. But electricity took a long time to adopt. And by virtue of that, essentially the Lamplighters could see the writing on the walls and go train in another skill, probably programming, because that's what we usually do, right? I joke. But the point here is that artificial intelligence, as it's taking over, is already displacing jobs at a much faster rate than any other previous creative destruction. And so by virtue of that, if the UK is taking longer to adopt it because their citizens just don't care, or they're not on the forefront, or their companies rather are not on the forefront of adoption, well, then that may ease the burden because people have a little more time to see the writing on the wall and get retrained in something else. And so I think that may be the silver lining, but either way, I think the UK right now is at a disadvantage. And if their citizens aren't simply adopting or using artificial intelligence at the rates that other modern countries are, that it's going to probably do long-term economic damage to them. So good luck to you. Sorry for the bad accent, but here we are. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.